special episode of Unlocking the Future with someone who I consider a role model, and I don't say this for too many people. Khel Ratna winner, multiple award winner, national champion, international champion, Olympic medalist. Most importantly, she's an inspiration to me. An inspiration at many levels, who I have documented her life story in my books. And I give her examples to almost every student that I teach, that when you face adversity, here is someone who is a living embodiment of how to overcome adversity. Welcome, Deepa. Welcome.
Thank you, Moriya-ji, and wonderful to see you again, and especially during these times, wonderful to meet you.
Absolutely, Deepa-ji. Now, the point is, Deepa-ji, as we transition from a period of lockdown to where our governments have allowed us sporting institutions, for example, to open. Athletes can go out and practice. Yes, there will still be a lot of regulations and all of that. As an administrator now, who looks after Paralympic sport in the country, as an active athlete, as someone who has been there, done that, how are you now seeing this step by the government, and what, according to you, is the way forward?
When the advisory came out from Sports Authority of India, we did see it as a generalized advisory, but being the president of the Paralympic Committee of India, it was my major concern that we had to kind of customize it to the various disabilities. We could not just, of course, the basic rules remain the same, which is same for everybody in COVID-19 situation. But then I called a meeting with all these different sporting federations which come under Paralympic Committee of India, the people who are associated with us, various other sports like rugby, sitting volleyball, and even spoke to the heads and the coaches and senior coaches. Even caregivers were there on our Zoom meeting when we got that meeting organized. And we have kind of come to a conclusion that we cannot treat every disability with the same, in the same advisory. So for example, now if we take wheelchair basketball, now that's firstly a very contact kind of a game. At the same time, we have wheelchair users, and wheelchair users are also spinal cord injury, and their lungs are affected, their immunity is affected, their body is not adapted to that much of a resistance. So these are the sports we are not asking them to come to the ground till now. Right now, let me be very honest, the focus is on the excellence pool, because we have to maintain our sports persons' fitness, their mental well-being, their positivity, and their continuity of their exercise. So especially individual games like we have throws, where we can have the athlete come and practice. Of course, we are still not forcing or asking the athletes in severe disability category to come and play. They are with their own home people, they are practicing within their homes. We have organized some webinars. We have spoken about the immunity diet. We have spoken about the exercises that can be done indoors. We have also spoken to them about the alternative methods and alternative exercises that can keep a particular muscle fit. We have got fitness trainers also on the webinar. We have also got physiotherapists, because that's very important. The disability sector needs a combined training efforts and programming, as much as with the coach. The physiotherapist or the biomechanics trainer is equally important, because the set of muscles cannot function and some set of muscles function. So in that scenario, keeping the torso balance of a person, how can we make them exercise at home? So these are some ways that we are devising now, and this is the kind of SOP that we are devising for them. We are going to be soon releasing it, improvising the one which Sports Authority of India has given out.
Okay. Yeah. So Deepa-ji, if I understand right, will you do graded? For example, take a Devendra Jhajaria, who is an Olympic qualified athlete. Who will it be that category of people who you will focus on first, that you guys come and start training, because you have Tokyo 2021 to go to? If that happens, will that be a graded approach?
Absolutely, because we can't let go of our excellence pool. Those who we are hoping them to be the sure shot medal hopes, and we are very fortunate that whatever be the situation of the federation at the moment, the top scheme has absorbed them, and there are other associations like OGQ, Go Sports, they're also on board, and these are the elite athletes who are getting tremendous amount of funding so they can customize as it is. Even if I go back to my Rio preparations, it is always that we have a very customized set of training. My physiotherapist, my neurological doctor, with my coach who understands my disability, so my fitness trainer, so plus my lady attendant who are going to help me with my diapers and other drills. So it's a very individual customized approach, and luckily the funding and the belief in the athletes is there. So right now we are not too worried about our excellence school because they are in good hands. Even if they are at home, they are training with the best of facilities because they can afford it. Powerlifter is my concern because international bench, the weights, so that is the place where I'm a little concerned, and we are trying to reach out. But we Indians are good with the jugaads. They are doing something at home because there are certain sports where you can't really be home and do it.
Okay.
Archers are doing a wonderful job. They have created their targets at home and they're doing it. So, badminton also some training has resumed.
I was speaking to Dr. Batra as part of this series, Deepaji, and this was his quote. He said, 99% मैं आपसे कह सकता हूँ कि Tokyo 2020-21 में होना चाहिए. Because from whatever standpoint he's hearing as part of the Olympic Channel Commission or his IOC contacts, or he says, don't push me, but I am telling you with full seriousness and objectivity that I do think Tokyo will happen. What are you hearing from your athlete circles? Is there hope that the Olympics should happen?
There is nothing which says that it will not happen. So we are just, yes. So even when our communication with IPC, they have nowhere hinted that it's not happening. So everybody is working on the new competition calendar. Everybody is hopeful about the training. We have asked our para athletes to revise their training schedule as per the new timeline. And we are also looking at, we are really waiting for some competitions to come up or some method to be devised for more and more people to get qualified. So in absence of which it becomes even more important for us to hold on to the current excellence pool which is already qualified. Because if we don't get enough opportunities for any IPC qualified competitions where more and more can achieve MQS, then it becomes very important for us to hold on to our current talent.
Dr. Batra thinks, or that's what he told me, that he thinks in India competitions, not club level will start gradually now, but competitions as in proper competitions, interstate or national championships, etc., or even international competitions should start. He gave me the example of Hockey India, which he heads, rather the Federation of International Hockey. He said from around December, January. Do you think that is a realistic time frame that you are also seeing when possible competition should start in the country?
See, I will not be really giving out a timeline. I think we'll follow it as per the health advisory, because for me, I'm dealing with physically challenged athletes.
Yeah.
So I'm really going to follow very closely along with the guidelines of the World Health Organization and the National Health Advisory around the COVID-19.
Okay. Coming to a more fundamental question, Deepaji, I mean, as an athlete, now that the country is gradually starting to open up, do you feel confident to go out? Because, and here I ask you as a citizen, like if I want to take my mom out, if I want to take somebody else out for a walk, because these are also essential to keep fit. Mental balance, physical balance, proper exercise. Are you confident of going out and exercising?
Puriya ji, I have started exercise. I do not go to a gym. I don't want to go to a close because they are not even open for now. But definitely I'm going to a corner of a garden where I sit. I take my own team along with me who I know.
When you say, one second,
Yeah.
Is it a public garden or is it inside your house?
It's a public garden. It's an open space, because it is better to be an open space rather than being in closed proximities. That's what I have learned from all the health advisories that I have read. And in that, I keep people who I know have remained healthy for past 2 weeks. So my own team, say for my staff who lives with me in my house, or my daughters who are living with me, and I know that they have remained healthy for last 14-15 days. So this is a very closed set of people that I take help from, because the fact remains that I need assistance. I can't even shift from the wheelchair to bed, or from wheelchair into a vehicle which I drive. I am wearing a mask when I am there, but when I am doing my extensive cardio, the others are wearing masks and I am not, because again, it is not advisable when you are doing heavy exercise. I'm doing my dumbbells or my medicine ball, then I'm not wearing the mask, because I do not want to inhale my own carbon dioxide. For that period of time, I don't wear it. But when somebody is coming close to me and I'm in between their training, I do pull up my mask. I am carrying my temperature control equipment. I check everybody's temperature every morning. And we are paying a lot of attention to our immunization and our immunity diet, the sanitization of our hands. You're wearing gloves. I do that when I go out. So all the precautions that they are there, I have started using.
Deepaji, when you say immunity diet, what do you mean? Can you tell me for everyone, what do you mean immunity diet?
I've definitely increased vitamin D and vitamin C in my diet. I am also having the desi kada, the one with dalchini and black pepper, and so that is also something I am drinking in the morning. I'm gargling twice a day as per what I am hearing. And definitely I maintain a safe distance. I am very, very blunt in telling people to keep that safe distance. And I'm always washing my hands every time I go. And I've kept a sanitizer spray bottle with me. So when I'm touching the door knobs or the lift knobs, or I am opening the car door, I am definitely spraying and wiping with wet wipes. So these are some things that I have invested in. In any case, let's face the fact that we are not partying, we are not eating in restaurants, we are not going out shopping nowadays. So it is good that kind of money can be invested in buying these things that can keep us safe and protected.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You've just given me a life toolkit, which is what is of great importance to everybody. Now to a very fundamental question, Deepaji. You guys perform in front of people. We are the ones who celebrate. What's your take on that? Because clearly over the next foreseeable future, you will not have fans on stands. You will not see fans. So what is your take about sport in empty stadiums?
Reggie, let me tell you from the sport that I come from, which is para sports. It's still in its infancy in my country. I have played and won national medals and broken national records with not a single spectator. It is only us who watch each other, cheer each other, and maybe some one odd media would write about it, and we would hear some odd people to cheer. So things have definitely changed. We are being celebrated post Rio. Rio 2016 has changed a lot for us, and I have to thank you. Even you were instrumental in bringing about that change. You took us also to the sports museum, to your books, and you have sort of presented us at very elite platforms. So media has celebrated us a lot. So off late, yes, we know, but I am one person who's a believer of adapting to the change and accepting the change. These are two very main ingredients, adapting and accepting. So if we can't change it for now, we have to learn to live with it. And even if it is a competition with no spectators, let me tell you, the way we are interacting right now, the information technology, the media, the social media handles, they are enough to let us know that the medals that we are winning for our country or for our respective states are being cheered and respected by each and everyone who is following us on these mediums. So for now, if these mediums are the ones which are keeping us safe, let us remain motivated and not get any negativity among us.
Deepaji, I'm actually working on an academic paper which will soon be published, which I will send you. I'm arguing that COVID-19 is actually going to democratize spectatorship around the world. My argument is very simple. I am saying so far what has happened. So far, when Deepa Malik throws in Rio, frankly, there are 25 Indians in that stadium. There are about 5,000 Brazilians, 10,000 whatever. And, when you win a medal, the first ever woman to win a Paralympic medal, for us it is different. We think it's a massive feat. But for a Brazilian or a Chinese or an American, they have seen such feats in their own countries. So for them to celebrate you in the same manner is perhaps not fair on our part to expect. So what am I saying? I am saying that so far what we have done, we have put 10 cameras, 25 cameras in that one stadium with say 25,000 people, out of which only a very minuscule percentage matters to a Deepa Malik or to an Indian viewer. What am I saying here? I am saying using AI, using mobile digital tech. Why not the broadcaster, real time? Deepa Malik wins a medal. Horia Majumdar sitting in Calcutta tweets a video of how he reacts in euphoria. Deepa Malik's daughter sitting in Gurgaon reacts how the household reacted, how your father-in-law reacted, how your husband reacts, how you reacted, how the country reacts, where everyone sort of... So what I'm saying is, every household is a stadium. Every sofa set is a stadium. Every restaurant is a stadium. The moment we do that, we actually celebrate Deepa Malik that much more and don't need to depend on stadiums at all.
Boria, you are from the cricket world, and it happens. That's exactly how cricket is celebrated. You have all the bars, restaurants, home parties, all done around the World Cups or IPL matches, and same goes for soccer. Then why not for para sports?
Correct.
Why not for every sport? Yes.
So my point is, we need to look at sport in a very different manner. See, we keep talking about corporate sponsorship, right? We need money for sport. Now, if someone sitting in America celebrates Deepa Malik live on TV, you are actually democratizing spectatorship, reaching out to newer cross-sections of society around the world and making sport that much more marketable. So when sport does come back with fans, you already have an increased constituency. So I'm arguing you take advantage of this. What's your take on it?
Absolutely, I fully agree with you. And in fact, you're arguing today, Boria, this is the experience I had when I won this medal for the country. My medal was exactly celebrated the way you're talking about it right now. There was no COVID, but thankfully there was information technology, televisions, there were people tweeting. I was trending for this medal.
Hold it. Let's see that. Everyone should see that because, Rio 2016 and Deepa Malik
what you are talking right now is what this medal has already done.
Correct. And you were kind enough to give me...
Let me also show you something. There's another country who releases a stamp for me. That's Bhutan releasing and celebrating my achievement.
Hey Deepaji, I want this for the museum. So you give a set to me, please.
Okay, this is the only one I have. But maybe I'll try get more.
You get me more.
Yes. So that's what we can do. I mean, and I'm happy that this will also make others realize that how para sports has missed this kind of spectatorship and how it is this kind of spectatorship and the method that you are saying that every drawing room sofa or every television or every tweet becomes a stadium, and that is how our para sports has evolved in the country.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm absolutely glad to hear that. Deepaji, now to ask you a very a somewhat critical question. We know there is a bit of an economic issue in the country, a serious economic issue. People are losing jobs. We know what is happening with labor. We know every sector is suffering. Are you apprehensive that parasport, which did not figure in India's imagination for a long time, but only recently became important to us, there might be an issue with funding? Do you see any issue there with sponsorship, possible sponsorship, people not wanting to invest that much in sport? Can that happen, and are you concerned?
I probably feel that this could also be an advantageous situation for us, because right now people need inspiration, people need motivation, people need health, people want to talk about health and positivity and health heroes. And what better place to get it than in para sports? People are more compassionate now, their thoughts towards humanity is more. So I would personally feel that there'll be a kind of an approach. Eventually, of course, we will have to wait for economy to kind of stabilize a little more.
And the other thing, Deepaji, is also that, this has humbled us. We now have learned to appreciate the basics of life. My conversation with you, a good meal at home, spending time with mother, wife, daughter. Isn't that the positive to take away from it?
You would be surprised. My fan following or my followers on my social media handles have really increased now. The amount they had increased after me winning the Rio medal, because everybody says, oh my God, now we understand what a lockdown is all about, and you are locked down to a wheelchair and you have spent 10 months regularly in a hospital bed. Oh my God, Deepa, we admire you even more now. So now they can probably relate to that pain that I must have undergone or the challenges that I must have faced by feeling restricted to a room or to a chair or to a hospital bed. So yes, you're right. There will be more compassion, different point of view, the way people will look and appreciate each other now.
How about family, Deepaji? I mean, your daughters are with you. What during lockdown? How was it? I mean, spending so much time with them. Obviously, they are successful now, doing management work, doing other kinds of work. But getting together to spend quality time at home, how was that?
It was really nice. We distributed our duties, and the beauty was that we were 3 adult working women working from home, and fortunately we had individual spaces, so we were not into each other's spaces also. And as a mother, I found time to cook for them all over again. And I always say cooking for the family is a very regular thing for any woman, but for me, sitting on a wheelchair and then not being able to do that, because for past 10 years I have been in serious curriculum of playing for India, so I've really never got the time to sit at home and cook for them. But this was one time we enjoyed, and I was very happy to note that they also equally participated, and they also.
So what did you make?
Oh, we did lots of cakes, we did lots of South Indian dishes, and we made small meals but interesting meals. But what actually I loved doing was to sit down with my elder daughter, and through the foundation, we were providing food. We had adopted 60 families with one member in the family who was physically challenged. We were providing for their rations, for their diapers, sanitary napkins, and had set up 3 Happy Janta kitchens at 3 different locations from where the daily wagers were passing by. So our day would start very early. We would get up around 4 and get this kind of a meeting or the WhatsApp video on and supervise the kitchens, sitting at home, ensuring that they're packing it neatly, and then distribution was done in an honest manner. So we will also be in touch with some government or a police official in that location to authenticate distribution, whether it was done in the right manner. So these are also things which kept us busy, made us feel purposeful, and I express a lot of gratitude to all of them who came ahead and donated some amount of money to the foundation for us to do this kind of work.
We should collaborate, Deepaji. We are now in Bengal dealing with the aftermath of the cyclone and trying to rejuvenate, but at some point we must collaborate on this project also, like you and I have done on several. 2 more questions before I let you go. One, you are an icon yourself and you've been there, done that, you have experience. There are many young athletes who must be feeling mentally suffocated or going through a period of depression or suffering depression in lockdown. What is the future? We don't know. What will it unfold like, etc. What is your advice to such people? Because you are also the head of their organization in a way. How do you deal with young athletes who are suffering from mental issues at this point?
See, I believe in leading by example. So I'm constantly uploading my own videos, how I am passing my time in the house, what are the activities that I'm undertaking. So that is one way we are having regular interactions with the athletes. We have also provided them some education on mental health, well-being by experts, by professionals through the webinars that we have hosted. At the same time, I personally feel that a sports person, and that to a sports person in physical disability, is already a winner in their own right. They have already overcome many challenges. They are used to all sorts of lockdowns in their lives. They have emerged a winner through their own journey. So I'm very proud that all my athletes, whether from the excellence school or from the upcoming talent on the national level, they have all been sending their positive videos, and we've been uploading them constantly on our handles, from the Paralympic Committee handles. And each one of them has shown so much of grit and determination, so much positivity, that sometimes even I get inspired from them rather than me inspiring them. So we've had a great connect with each other. And I think coming from their community of athletes, I have a very easy and a very smooth way of connecting to them. There is no barrier when they call me up. They can just call me up and I chit chat with them. So far so good, Boria-ji. We have not heard a single case where we got any negativity from any of our athletes.
Okay, the last one, Deepa-ji, how do you see, if I ask you short-term, medium-term, long-term, how do you now see sport? Because now the country is almost on the verge of exiting lockdown in many ways. I am looking at the next few days as exit 2.0, further exit 3.0, because offices have opened up, sport is opening up. Our regular lives are opening up, public transport opening up. How are you seeing sport maybe 6 months and then further 12 months?
I'm really hoping for the curve to flatten, and I'm really hoping on that theory of herd immunity to develop, if that is what it is, because COVID is going to stay, it's not disappearing. We don't have any vaccination as of now, and we know that this is a disease which spreads fast. So the only thing that I look at is that we should be very, very careful. We have to take care of our own health. We have to keep all the precautions going, and slowly we will inch into normalcy, hopefully.
Okay, my final one. I mean, I'm sort of advocating this. I'm saying Tokyo is a massive human moment. Okay, I'm saying Tokyo is a massive human moment, in the sense several $1 billion have gone into doing the games or getting the games. The economy of Japan is significantly dependent on the Olympic Games. And it will be a massive moment for humanity if Tokyo happens. Okay, that's what I'm arguing. On the other side, I'm arguing that if there is some kind of jab, a vaccine, which we are hearing end of the year, first quarter of next year. So if I'm going with the first quarter of next year argument, which now many people think is happening, including infectious disease experts, that you will get some kind of protection. Do you think there should be a deal between the WHO and the International Olympic Committee, whereby if you're an athlete or a media person or a stakeholder of some sort involved in Tokyo, that you should be considered a frontline worker and get that jab?
Definitely. I will stand up for my community of sports, and I would love to see that.
Because that will make Tokyo happen. Because that will make...
I think you are right. But that would definitely be a historic moment when people will come together. It will be a moment of hope. It will also give hope for people to travel across borders. It will probably revive a lot of things if these bunch of athletes, 4,000, 5,000 people are kept on priority along with the supporting staff. So if this 10, 20,000 people are given the shot of immunity and we create this whole 2021 and it comes out, there is so much of positivity and hope that's going to come around the globe. I absolutely feel that.
You're an absolute rock star, Deepa Malik. I mean, I've always derived inspiration from you, and it was a pleasure talking to you. I mean, optimism.
Thank you.
And sooner than later, you and I will meet again. Maintain social distance between celebrations.
Thank you so much. And
Take care and all the best.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.